So we're talking about sexual imperialism and cultural imperialism. It's really leftist imperialism in a way, but which then actually just links right into this movie Bros, this gay rom-com that came out this week, directed by Nicholas Stoller, and which with a screenplay he co-wrote with Billy Eichner. The idea of it is it's just going to be a rom-com, but it's going to be about gay people. But underneath is also the message that gay people are very, very different than straight people. And all this stuff that they told us about love is love was just a trick they were pulling on us. So the movie comes out and it just tanked and it had a lot of money behind it. It made $4.8 million in its first weekend. Now that's really low, by the way. That means that gay people didn't show up for it either. Nobody showed up for it. That's a really small number. And the co-screenwriter, Billy Eichner, starts sending out these angry tweets. Here's one of them. That's just the world we live in, unfortunately. Even with glowing reviews, great Rotten Tomato scores, an A Cinema score, et cetera, straight people, especially in certain parts of the country, you know who you are, just didn't show up for Bros, and that's disappointing, but it is what it is. He says that's just the world we live in, unfortunately. This is a guy who's tweeted angry stuff about the Bible. Get your fictional, hateful Bible stories and your fake, fictional religious BS out of our lives, and F you and all that. So it's a little hostile to the straight culture. Here is the trailer from this, and it's just a little bit of this trailer, which gives you an idea of what's in it.
Hi everyone, it's Bobby Lieber, and welcome to your favorite podcast where I talk about whatever I feel like talking about. So these big movie producers came to me and said, we want you to write a rom-com about a gay couple. Something a straight guy might even like and watch with his girlfriend.
Gay guys are my jam.
Awesome. Something a straight guy might like? Am I gonna be in the middle of some high-speed chase, then all of a sudden fall in love with Ice Cube? Am I gonna get butt-f***ed by Jason Momoa while we're both worrying about a volcano? They said, we just want a movie that shows the world that gay relationships and straight relationships are the same. Love is love is love. And I said, love is love is love. No, it's not. That is bullshit.
So he's basically saying, you know, that, well, you heard what he was saying, basically that straight culture is just too shabby for gay people to even pretend to be part of. So you may ask, did I go and see this movie? And the answer, you may have guessed, is absolutely not. And will I see it? No, I won't. But my son, Spencer Klavan, no relation, is a gay human, and he reviewed the movie for the Washington Examiner. And here's what he said. He said, I am among the apparently select few who saw Bros, very satirical there, the apparently select few who saw Bros this weekend and liked it, but it is unquestionably the portrait of a micro-demographic. If you are in or adjacent to that micro-demographic, it's charming, relatable, and funny, sometimes even hilarious. On the other hand, if you've never lived among affluent, liberal homosexuals in an American metropolis, the jokes are likely to fall flat. This isn't even slice of life filmmaking. It's sliver of life cut with one of those surgical blades that's only a few atoms wide. Now, I have a limited amount of time myself for gay stories. When I lived in London, there was one theater season. I'm a big theater fan. And there was one theater season where there must have been like 4 or 5 gay plays in the West End in London. My wife and I went to one of them, and we thought it wasn't bad, but it exhausted our interest in the subject. We thought that was a subject, and we were willing to watch a play about it, but not a lot of plays about it. And I mentioned this offhandedly at the time to a gay friend, but he was a leftist, so he was prone to being offended, and he was offended. And I said, look, this is not about me. It's not something that I care about that much. It's part of the world. I know gay people, so I'm happy to hear a story about this, but a love story between a man and a woman has a subtext that it's about whether the world will continue, whether a man is strong and brave enough and a woman loving and tender enough to create the next generation. The future of 2 gay people really doesn't have that kind of resonance, and it's not about me. It's about something else. Now, there's also something else, and I want to just talk about this bluntly. Straight guys tend to find gay acts of affection, let's call them, not to mention sex, unpleasant to look at. we don't like looking at that. In fact, what we like looking at is pretty girls. That's what we like looking at. That's why men want to see a sex scene, because they want to see the girl. They do not want to see the sex. They want to see the woman. This is actually the truth. And that's why a lot of guys love lesbian sex scenes, because they're two naked girls. That's what that's about, right? So if you're watching something that you actually find unpleasant, you are going to have limited tolerance for it. And the reason this point is important is this. We're not obligated to see what you make. We have no debt to you whatsoever. We don't owe you anything. I'm talking as the audience. I'm also an artist. You, as the audience, don't owe me anything. You don't owe me to pre-order, as you well should, A Strange Habit of Mind. You don't owe that to me. I'm asking you to do it because I think you'll love the book. But you don't owe it to me. It is my job to entertain you. And so this isn't just with gays. It is with all of these lefty guys in Hollywood. They are basically accusing the audience of being bad people for not showing up for their work. Even if their work is good, we don't owe it to you to see it. There are plenty of, I don't like rom-coms at all, by the way. I don't go to a romantic comedy at all. Even if it's great, I'm not going to go because I don't care, right? I am not responsible to come to your story. So they did this again. They did it with, what was it? The Ghostbuster, the girl Ghostbuster one in 2016. They made it Ghostbusters with all women, and people didn't like the trailer and didn't show up. And the cast came out and said, well, because we were basically sexist. Here's that.
It's not something that hasn't happened. It's just that each and every time it comes up, everyone seems to act like it's the first time that like there's a talking monkey or something crazy. It's
like we cast billy goats or something to play over here. It's like
Billy goats.
It just seemed like we did something completely wrong, and we didn't. We made a great movie.
So here's the thing, right? We may have not gone to see it because there were women in a film that we considered to be a bro film, and we didn't want to see a bro film with a bunch of girls in it. That's one reason. We may have not gone because we thought it was bad. We may have not gone because we had $40 to spend and we decided to spend it on dinner. We may have not gone because it was a sunny day and we felt like taking a walk instead. We could not go for any reason we like. The idea that that somehow you made this thing, so we're responsible for seeing it, is insane. It is completely insane. It is a complete turnaround. They did this with Black Panther. Now, I thought Black Panther was really dull, but I think all superhero movies are really dull with one or two exceptions. But they were doing the same thing before Black Panther came out. This LA Times writer, Jamal Smith, wrote in Time magazine, he said, when I'm considering the folks who preemptively hate Black Panther, I will bet there wasn't one person in America who preemptively hated Black Panther or cared. But he says, they seek to stop it from influencing American culture. I say, let them try. Wow, what a hero this guy is. Who cared? Who cared? Maybe you just don't like superhero movies. Maybe you have something better to do. This is the entire thing. I sometimes joke about the fact that I have a hard time promoting myself, especially comical when I've been trying so hard to promote A Strange Habit of Mind because I really think you'll love it. But Jeremy said this, the God King of the Daily Wire, said to me, there are many kinds of intelligence. You have no self-promotional intelligence. When the prequel to A Strange Habit of Mind, When Christmas Comes, came out, I took my Twitter list. I did this because Knowles told me to do this because I'd never promoted myself before. And I said, how do you promote yourself? And Knowles told me to go on your Twitter list, find the people who have a lot of followers, and ask them if they will tweet about the book. So I had a list. I have a long Twitter following. I had a long list. I got halfway through it. Absolutely true story. Absolutely true. I began to get so nauseous that I couldn't continue. I only got halfway through the list because I got nauseous. And I don't ever get nauseous. I mean, I could eat poison and not get nauseous. But it was asking people for something that really bothered me. I didn't want to ask anybody to help me because it's my responsibility to entertain you. The reason I did it, the reason I decided to do it is because of my politics and because of my outspokenness. I've lost the venues that would have advertised it to you, and I only had me to do it. So I realized that I had to do it. It was only fair to the work I'd put in to bring it to you. But just because I bring it to you doesn't create an obligation in you to do it. And this sense of obligation is absolutely fascinating and is absolutely a change in pace of what the artist is supposed to be. There's a famous speech that was written by Samuel Johnson in the 18th century for the famous British actor of his day, David Garrick, when he opened his theater. David Garrick is so famous, the Garrick Club is a club in in London where actors go. And there was a famous line that is engraved over the Garrick Club in London that was written by Samuel Johnson. He says, "The drama's laws, the drama's patrons give. For we that live to please must please to live." In other words, you're the audience. You set the rules, and the rules can be anything you want. They can be, we don't like to see nudity. They can be, we don't like to see Tom Cruise. They can be, we don't like to see movies that have too much red in the color palette. They can be anything you want because we are here for you. Now, mixed in with that attitude is a certain snobbery that has always been there. I mean, I'm sure you've seen, or I hope you've seen Hamlet, and you've seen him give his, his speech to the actors, how they're supposed to read the lines, and they're supposed to be natural. Here's Laurence Olivier giving part of that speech.
Suit the action to the word to the action, with this special observance that you o'erstep not the modesty of nature. For anything so overdone is from the purpose of playing, whose end, both at the first and now, was and is to hold as 'twere the mirror up to nature, to show virtue her own feature, scorn her own image, and the very age and body of the time, his form and pressure. Now this, overdone, though it make the unskillful laugh, cannot but make the judicious grieve, the censure of which one must, in your allowance, outweigh a whole theatre of others.
You see, so what he's saying there is that art has a purpose to hold the mirror up to nature, and if you do it badly, you may please the fools in the crowd, the peasants in the crowd, but the judicious will not like it, and they are worth more than anybody else. So there's always been this snobbery that artists have, and it's got a fair point to make, which is that we are doing something, and when you do it well, the judicious will know, but the crowds might not. So you might make a beautiful movie that folds because only the judicious know, only people who understand the arts get it, and then only a few people will show up, and the big crowds who show up for garbage like Black Panther won't show up. And there's always been that kind of snobbery. But the difference there is, where did the artist at that time, in the Shakespearean time, where did he get his ideas of what nature is? Well, Shakespeare tells you. He tells you in A Midsummer's Night's Dream, he has a character say, "The poet's eye in a fine frenzy rolling doth glance from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven. And as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shape and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name. Such tricks hath strong imagination." In other words, looking at heaven and looking at earth, the poet acts as a sort of translator of what heaven has created and gives you the things that you can't see and gives them a shape. It gives to airy nothing a habitation and a name. It gives a shape to things that we feel and we know, but we can't say. But he's looking at heaven and earth. He's looking at nature, and he's looking at heaven, at the not just the creation, he's also looking at the creator. Now, with the death of God, now we're just looking at people who are looking to themselves. So all they're really telling you is what they think, which is very different. It is very different than someone who has the responsibility to hold a mirror up to nature. It's what one critic called the difference between the mirror and the lamp. The mirror looks to nature and collaborates with nature, and thereby collaborates with the creator of nature to give you ideas in ways that you might not have thought of before. But if you're a lamp, then the light is coming out of you, and you are shining this beautiful lamp on the world and illuminating the people. So when people say, "Oh, you didn't show up for my movie," what they're saying is, you didn't show up for me, and you are obligated in showing up for me. Now, again, I often say that the left has taken over the arts because we abandoned them. Sarah Hoyt, who is a science fiction writer who I know because she's on Glenn Reynolds' site Instapundit a lot, she says, no, this is not true. We were forced out. And I think that's right. I mean, I've been forced out of places because of my opinions, but we didn't build a structure to review the arts, to celebrate the arts, to reward the artists. We left that to the left, and that's what's missing. It's the money people, the people who build venues for artists and reviews for artists. That's what's missing, and so we have work still to do, but at least we're catching on to this idea. And the idea is simply this. We have a vision too, we people who still look up to heaven to understand the earth. We have a vision too that we have to turn into art that you're not responsible for seeing because it supports America or supports freedom or supports anything. We have to do our job first. This guy, He may have done his job. This movie Bros may be a good show, but people don't want to see it. We owe him nothing. Zero. Zip. Bupkis. We owe him nothing. It's up to him to make art we want to see. If we don't want to see gay art, then maybe he has to make straight art. How would that be? Tough luck. This is what I mean about cultural imperialism. They want to force us to like the things they like. They want to force us to desire the things they desire, and they want to force our children to do it too. And the answer is simple. No. You may feel that was too good for you, but if you want more, like and subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe to the Andrew Klavan Podcast.